Well, we covered the favorites. Now it's time to plunge headfirst into the negativity and talk about the ones I hated the most of 2020. Quick disclaimers, much like last time, I didn't see everything. No one could have possibly seen everything. Also, these are a matter of opinion, and if you like the shows that I hate, then fine, whatever, but just know that I won't agree with you. Finally, try not to be surprised that A, I may have covered one or two of these in my video reviews already, B, if a lot of these happen to come from Netflix because, well, it's the pandemic, you know, everybody was locked in and I really wasn't much of an exception. So all I really had to entertain me was Netflix and older movies on Pluto TV, but we don't do Pluto TV movies because those are older movies. We do stuff that came out in 2020 for these lists. Before we get too far into this, I'd like to name off a dishonorable mention, though. And for the record, no, it's not Cuties, because, let's be honest, everybody's talking shit about that one, and I'd rather talk about a movie that I actually saw as opposed to one I didn't see and have no plans of seeing. The dishonorable mention I would like to make is for The Platform, a movie that technically I've already covered on this list, and I was really considering it for this list until I found out it was a foreign film, which was information I unfortunately didn't have when I reviewed the original. Although in hindsight it definitely explains a lot, i.e. the very awkward line reads and the very weird alien concept that they were working with. So, knowing that it's a foreign film, I'm willing to give it significantly more leeway now. I still hated it, but I don't hate it as much, knowing that it came from a completely different country with different cultures, different customs, different tropes, etc. A lot of which probably make more sense over there than they do over here. As for which country, I can't remember. I think it might have been somewhere in Eastern Europe, maybe, but all the same, I'm not an intolerant bigot, I just thought the movie was bad. Also very heavy-handed. Symbolism! That's gonna do it for the dishonorable mentions. It's time for us to get into the actual list. Up first, oh boy. Solar Opposites is brought to us by the guys who gave us Rick and Morty, which sounds like a great idea on paper until you actually watch Solar Opposites. Next thing you know, it's becoming abundantly clear that Justin Roiland and friends only really know how to write one show. Let's be honest, this show is Rick and Morty. It has different characters, yes, it has different guys and different voices, but if you cut through the bullshit and actually see the show for what it is, it's literally just a palette swap of Rick and Morty. Except instead of an old man and his little 14-year-old nephew, it's basically a bunch of random aliens that came from a weird planet and are trying to figure out Earth. But other than that, it's the weird sense of humor that made Rick and Morty popular, but if I'm being entirely honest, this isn't even a show. This is the kind of thing that a show would use as like background noise when characters are watching television in an establishing shot, or like this would be like a show in a show when like Rick and Morty are doing interdimensional cable and they stumble across Solar Opposites. Hey, check it out. It's Solar Opposites. I love this show. This would never be an actual TV show because nothing funny happens. Barely anything interesting happens. It's just random noise is what it is. It's just nonsense. And I don't even mean funny nonsense. I mean just like nonsense. And of course you got Justin Roiland playing the grumpy character who's always mad at everyone, and it's funny because his sense of humor is that he's drunk or stupid or just really opinionated, and the joke is that he hates everything you like and, you know, whatever. That worked with Rick and Rick and Morty, but it just doesn't work in any other thing he tries. I watched 3 episodes of this show, and that was like 2 more than I really needed to. I think I laughed like once the entire time this show was going on. Otherwise, you could probably just stick to season 4 of Rick and Morty and basically get the same thing, if not something better. Oh, Jesus Christ, this one. Oh, man. Okay, I technically reviewed this one already, so I'll try not to drudge up old points I may or may not have made in the original review that, if I'm being entirely honest, I don't even remember outside of the fact I almost gave it a 0 out of 4 because fuck this show. But believe me when I say this, I fucking hate Children's Hospital. I don't just hate Children's Hospital, I fucking hate Children's Hospital. It is one of the most painfully unfunny things I have ever seen in my life. Solar Opposites at least got 1 laugh out of me in the span of 3 episodes. Solar Opposites at least had Rick and Morty power behind it, and even when it wasn't funny, I could at least maybe kinda possibly see how other people might find it funny, despite the fact I think it's tedious and boring. Children's Hospital is an abomination. I hate that show so much. And when I heard it was getting a spin-off many years later with Medical Police, I immediately expected the worst. And yet somehow, my standard for awful was surpassed immediately. I know that normally I do a 3-episode sampler to see if a show stays consistently good, or if it starts out bad but eventually gets good, or if the premise does eventually hook me. I watched 1 episode of this show and immediately noped out. This show is just more of that painfully unfunny Children's Hospital bullshit that I never understood the appeal of. I just don't get it. I don't. I will never understand why people like those guys. This isn't funny, not even remotely. I couldn't stand this show the first time. I can't stand it on Netflix as its own little thing. And I honestly am glad I'm not ranking these things, because this would probably be number 1 on my list, or at least number 2. Because that's basically what it is. Big steaming pile of number 2. Hey-o! Get it? Because number 2. And... Next joke! Alright, fine. Hell, never mind next joke. Let's just move on to the next show. I don't want to get too angry this early in, because this show just pissed me off so much, and I can't recommend it at all. Gonna be one of those videos, folks. I'm only 2 into the 5 and I'm already pulling out my 2nd beer. Whatever. What else we got? If I live to be 1,000, I will never understand what people see in Judd Apatow. I have seen some of his movies. I've seen Pineapple Express. I saw Anchorman, I saw a few of his other ones. None of them are funny, like, not even remotely. I had a feeling we were going to be talking about this one. I already reviewed this one on the channel as well, and I don't really know what I could possibly say here other than I am thoroughly disappointed in you, Bill Burr. Actually, I take that back. I can't really be disappointed in Bill Burr so much. Even a guy as awesome as him can't make Judd Apatow movies funny. Not even a little. I tried, believe me, I tried, but man, as I said in my review, I think I actually fell asleep 2/3 of the way in and was just, that was just how bored I was with this. I just don't understand why people think Judd Apatow is so funny. I really don't. And I can't help but note that on Twitter, Judd Apatow apparently remarked on how one of his favorite comedy movies of all time was The 40-Year-Old Virgin. That movie also sucked. It seems kind of appropriate that an unfunny comedy director's favorite movie is a movie that is equally painful and equally unfunny. When we talk about The 40-Year-Old Virgin, I think the only thing I thought that was even remotely funny or interesting was that whole bit where the guys were playing Mortal Kombat Deception. Obvious product placement, by the way. And they're all like, hey man, you know how I know you're gay? Because you macrameed a pair of jean shorts. Hey, you know how I know you're gay? Because you got a rainbow bumper sticker on your car. You know how I know you're gay? And then the third guy pops in. It's like, you know how I know you're gay? Because both of you know that the other is gay. And that was literally the only funny bit. And it's very possible I'm misremembering this because, as I said, I'm on my second beer here. That was literally the only funny bit of that movie, and it's kind of appropriate that the man who gave us The King of Staten Island thinks that movie is funny, because not only is that movie not funny, The King of Staten Island wasn't funny. I think the one time I got even a chuckle was maybe that bit about Ruby Tattoos Day, and that was basically it. Do not waste your time. I love you, Bill Burr. You're my favorite podcaster. You're my favorite stand-up. F is for Family is my favorite animated sitcom ever, and I can't wait to see season 5, but dude, I just don't know, man. I couldn't get into it. I couldn't get into it at all. So, Jesus Christ, I've got 2 more movies to cover, and I think I'm already getting a buzz. Whatever. Oh, sweet Jesus, this movie. Sorry. This movie. I hate this movie. I've reviewed it on my channel. I've brought it up incessantly in other reviews as ways of not doing a comedy, not doing the whole woke thing that's really popular right now. Bringing up the trope of the 10-year-old or 9-year-old kid who's way too smart for his own good trope, you know. One of my most hated of tropes. Just overall, this movie, from start to finish, well, I say start to finish, but truth of the matter is, if you remember my review of it, I didn't even finish this movie. I mean, yeah, there are plenty of bad movies this year, but the difference between the ones that didn't make the list and this one is I actually managed to soldier through and finish those movies. I could say that the King of Staten Island is on here for similar reasons, except I fell asleep during that one, despite my best efforts. Whereas with Coffee and Kareem, I legitimately, no joke, turned it off around the 2/3 mark and was like, I'm done with this movie. Good day. I talked about this in my review of Woke, but there's a lot more to equality and the concept of being woke than just, hey, white people are stupid or racist. Or hell, even when they're trying to be PC, they're being racist because, you know, that's white people, every single one of them, no exceptions. Fuck you, Netflix. Seriously. This might be the 2 beers I've had going on to 3 here, because this is really riling me up, but fuck you, Netflix. Whereas The King of Staten Island may have gotten a chuckle out of me, whereas Solar Opposites may have gotten a legit laugh out of me maybe once. I mean, hell, even Medical Police at least kind of brought up nostalgia of Adult Swim. And remember when there was actually funny shit on Adult Swim? I don't think I laughed once the entire time this movie was on. I genuinely felt offended when this movie was playing. And as an exclamation mark, they decided to call the movie Coffee and Kareem. I mean, sweet Jesus. You couldn't possibly have imagined that title sounding any good in your head. Surely! Ugh, one more movie to go. This is my 3rd beer. Ugh. Admit it, you knew this was going to be on my list. I mean, by virtue of the fact that I'm a movie guy on YouTube and the fact every movie guy on YouTube has nothing but negative things to say about this, you knew it was going to be on here. I mean, I didn't think it was the single worst, but if we're being honest, I'd be doing the world a grave injustice if I didn't include it, because in terms of Disney live-action remakes, this one was pretty bad. I didn't get to see this one right away, so I didn't do a video on it because of that paywall, and let's be honest, I'm not made of money these days. Spent it all on sea-quenched ale and whatnot, but at the same time, when I did get around to watching it, whew, it was as bad as everyone said it was. I remember somebody on Twitter insisting that this was somebody's attempt at basically trying to repackage Rey Skywalker and trying to sell it again because it didn't work in Star Wars, and god damn it, you're gonna love this superpowered, strong, independent woman. I don't know if I would go that far necessarily, but this was definitely bad. And this is coming from somebody who didn't like the original animated Mulan. Well, I didn't hate it, but in terms of animated Disney movies, my heart will always belong to Aladdin and Lion King. Those were also bad, but compared to Mulan, I could at least see them trying. It's like, oh my god, they're trying so hard, but it's just not working. Whereas this didn't even come close. Wow. Just, oh my god, wow. And sadly, it's not even going to be the last Disney live-action remake either, because they're apparently working on Little Mermaid next, and I'll admit there is a genuine side to me that is curious as how the hell they're going to animate the underwater parts in live action, but aside from that, I am not going in optimistic. And this movie is to blame for that in large part. And that's going to do it for this year's Most Hated of 2020. Not gonna lie, I think getting drunk on camera might have been a bad idea, but you know what? That's just how bad a lot of these were, and I just need the beer to blot out my memory and keep me somewhat calm. If you liked what you saw, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, follow me on Twitter at TommyTealHat, and I will see you next time. Here's to 2021.